This is Democracy Watch. I'm joined by my co-host, voting rights attorney and founder of Democracy Docket, Marc Elias. Marc, Republicans have unveiled the American Confidence in Elections Act. What is this law and why is it cause for concern?
It is a voter suppressor's paradise. Like literally, vote suppressors from all around America got together in a meeting of the Republican Party and said, let's put forward our worst ideas. And then they put it all in one big bill. So at one level, you could say, who cares? It's a Republican bill in the House. It will never pass the Senate or the president. But it represents what Republicans want America to look like when it comes to voting. And it's not pretty.
Well, to that exact point, people are going to be watching and they're going to say exactly that. Democrats will never allow this bill to pass the Senate. Joe Biden will never sign it. So we've got nothing to worry about. Knowing that it won't move forward in the federal government, who is this bill actually for?
So it's for two groups of people. Number one, it's for their base, right? It's for the people who want to be aggrieved. Like they want an explanation for why it is their candidates don't win, why it is that Donald Trump got so few votes relative to Joe Biden. So they can look at this bill and they say, oh, if only there was this bill, things would have been different. That's number one. The second, though, is it's very dangerous because it serves as a roadmap for Republican legislatures and Republican governors throughout the country. When they're looking for bad ideas, they now have a place to find those bad ideas.
Yeah. Both of those points spot on, by the way. Are Republicans trying to pass state level versions of this bill anywhere?
They're trying to pass state level versions of this bill everywhere they can.
Well, okay, let me rephrase then. Are there any states where, because of the party makeup in the legislature and the governor, that it could actually pass?
Yeah, look, Brian, I worry about this in every state where Republicans control the process. I worry that Republicans in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger actually submitted testimony to the House of Representatives that included several of these bad provisions that are not currently in Georgia law. So like you could see a state like Georgia where they control the process, certainly a state like Texas where they rally behind some of these terrible ideas and they do get enacted. So yeah, I do worry about it.
Now, if legislation like this did pass in a particular state and it was challenged in court, is there any precedent as to whether it would survive a challenge, or does that just depend entirely on the makeup of the court in a particular state?
So I'd love to say it doesn't matter on the it's not dependent on the makeup of the court, but I don't want to be naive, Brian. The state courts have become much more uneven on voting rights. I would say this, there are provisions of that bill that I think would be really hard for a federal court, even a conservative federal court, to swallow. I mean, the wholesale, walking back of early voting, of vote by mail, are just really, really problematic for systems that are premised on that. Because one of the things, Brian, is that a state that has a large proportion of its population vote by mail can't just remove vote by mail and still provide people a meaningful opportunity to vote. Like that is the way in which they're providing people with the opportunity to vote. So when you take it away, you're really depriving people of the franchise. So I think that there are a lot of those provisions that would be problematic in individual states, but we'll see what happens.
Have you been successful in challenging a law that includes provisions like the ones outlined in the ACE Act, they're calling it, in any of the states that you've put forward litigation?
Yeah, so we've had lots of success challenging a number of provisions that are in that law. We have been successful just recently in Florida, for example, in getting an injunction against some of the voter registration restrictions that Republicans have been promoting, some of which are captured in that bill. We have sued successfully over the manner by which people are allowed to vote by mail and cure minor errors in their vote by mail ballots if they forget to sign it or if a bureaucrat thinks their signature doesn't match. We've had a lot of success in that area. So I don't think it's that we wouldn't have the ability to go to court, but Brian, the courts are not the perfect solution to solving the problems of democracy. Like the perfect solution is that the viewers who are listening and watching today and who watch you day in, day out, that they're alert and they take action at the state and local level. They let their elected officials know that this is not okay. Yeah. And that people are watching them. And that's really such a critical and vital service that you perform to democracy.
You know, a few of the provisions in this bill include barring universal mail-in voting, banning same-day voter registration, and requiring voter ID. Is there any proof, Mark, from any state that any of these provisions are in that they lead to more secure elections?
That lead to more secure
Yeah.
elections?
Is there any proof that
Sure.
any of the things they're putting in, because this is their voter integrity bill, is there any proof that any of these things would lead to more secure elections?
Oh, no, there's no proof that any would lead to more secure elections. Election day registration, by the way, same day registration and even automatic voter registration, actually doing away with those things would vastly lead to more insecure elections. Like you can have a debate about whether or not, things like photo ID, they're burdensome for sure. They don't lead to any more secure, but having them don't lead to something less secure. But allowing people to register on election day or allowing people to participate in automatic voter registration actually make our election systems way more secure, because what happens is the voter rolls are more up to date. Right. The thing is, like, you don't wind up with bloated voter rolls when you have automatic voter registration.
Yeah.
You don't wind up with people in the wrong county when you have people registering and updating their registration in person. So these are quite anti-integrity laws.
Yeah. What's new? It's a recurring phenomenon that we're seeing here. You know, we hear every year that there is no evidence of widespread fraud, despite Republicans' claims. Is there any vulnerability, though, in our election system? Is there anything to validate the Republicans' fear-mongering about our elections not being secure?
Yeah, the biggest concern with our election not being secure is being caused by the big lie, right? I mean, if you look at what are the instances, Brian, you and I periodically talk about, like, what about this instance and what about that instance? Think about what you've been hearing in the last few years. I don't tend to hype these things, but you've had these instances of MAGA Republicans voting twice. Why? Because they've been lied to. Like, these are people who are doing the wrong thing because the president of the United States lied to them. We've seen these instances of election officials, election officers being infiltrated, and confidential information being taken by these MAGA supporters. Why is that happening? Because they're being lied to. Because people are being radicalized and told and fed lies, and that is what is making our elections less secure. And so it is the undermining of confidence in free and fair elections that is doing the most damage and causing the most challenges to administering elections with security and integrity.
Yeah, I think if Republicans really want to put forward some legislation to secure our elections, they would take a look in the mirror there. So with that said, Mark, thank you so much to you and your team for the work that you do to protect voting rights across the country. For anybody watching, if you want to help Mark and his team, then please sign up for Democracy Docket. It is a free news outlet focused on voting and elections. The link is right here on the screen, and it's also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.